Thank you for joining us today. I am here again. This will be the second time Ilene Lashinsky and I have met because we just found our conversation so wonderful and life-giving and powerful that we said, let's do this again. And we might just keep doing this until we get ourselves all the way through. Um, for this episode, it's the chakras. So we want to go through the chakras and really dive into emotions and memory and energy and what actually happens in that. So, without further ado, Ilene Lashinsky is an intuitive energy healer, psychotherapist, empath, author, and body image specialist. For the past 30 years, she has been working primarily with women to help them find more joy and fulfillment in their lives, incorporating therapeutic and intuitive healing processes. Ilene guides her clients to heal their emotional wounds and to release the shame that they hold in their bodies. And you know this, as if you've been following me, viewers, I'm all about this. So the second I found Ilene and I was like, shame in the body, we got to have her. So welcome, my friend.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so glad to be back.
I know.
I love working with you.
Oh,
Love it.
good. Well, the feeling is so mutual.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, I am so excited about this conversation that I have 5 pages of notes. But those are because those are just prompts. So talking points, if you will. So I would love for you to explain to us, you know, the chakras, because some people may not know, some people may be new, and some people, they just want to hear it over again. Because everybody sometimes, I don't know if you feel this way, Ilene, but I do feel like people have different ideas in terms of what they're for, what they do, and that sort of thing. So if you just briefly go over that for us, and then we can just jump into what we're going to talk about today.
Oh, absolutely. So if I could just start with a little overview
Yes.
first. Okay, so in all of our energetic systems, we have a central channel, which goes from the top of our heads, or let me put it this way, goes from our tailbone all the way up to the top of our head. And that central channel is one of the reasons we have lots of energy that can emanate out there into the world, or that there are some possible blockages because there's something that's stuck or leaking. So, anyway, we have this central channel. And within that central channel in our bodies, there are 7 chakras, 3 in the lower chakras, 3 in the lower body. Sorry,
Okay.
3 in the lower body.
Yeah.
The heart is the median point right in the middle, and then 3 in the upper body.
Mm.
And I like to start working with the lower body because this is where we learned about who we were from our families, from our friends, from our teachers, and as we moved out into the world as young adults. And it's important to, I think, to start with the root chakra, which is at the base of the tailbone,
Mm.
because the root chakra is where we actually were birthed. And it's the marinade
Mm.
that we marinated in.
Yeah.
And this has a tremendous effect on how we went through our early lives and how we felt about ourselves. So we have the root chakra, and then the sacral chakra, and then the solar plexus chakra. And these are our early beginnings, the power centers. And they govern certain things. And now I'm going to turn it over to you for a little bit for questions, Lori.
Okay. Thank you. So there is a front and a back.
Yes. There's a front and the back of all of the chakras. The front is how we operate in the world. The back is basically messages, if we lean into our back body, messages that we can get from, for example, the divine, from depending on how you feel about word choice or a higher power,
Sure.
spirit,
Yep.
universe, God. Okay, so front body is how we operate in the world based on what we learned, and the back body can help us to access messages that maybe enhance what we already know, or say, oh, maybe I got it wrong. Maybe I need to look at it in a different way.
So intuition would could be for in the back.
Yes,
Yeah. Okay. So
yes,
when you're saying messages, you're saying, you get that moment where you're sitting, having your quiet time, or you're in your car or whatever, or you're watching a movie and something just hits you, and you're like, oh my goodness, that's a moment for me. You read something, it's this moment, and you think, oh, there's something deeper there, and you kind of explore it, and then you start to feel some connections in your life. That's an intuitive um connection. Yeah.
yes,
Okay.
yes, yes. And we can actually have feelings in our bodies in different places, like in the different power centers.
Yeah.
And that can give us clues to where in our lives or at what time in our lives these connections that you're talking about happen.
So this would be the consciousness of our soul. So our spirit, our soul, whatever we plug into, if we plug into a particular religion for faith and for understanding, this would be the consciousness of our soul, our purpose, our being here, that is showing itself in the body.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. That's really good.
Now, that's a very short answer to a very profound and complex question.
Yeah,
But yes,
because from my understanding and the research that I've done, it's like, in that power center, which is are these chakras, it's like your DNA or who you are, your sense of power. And in there, would you say that like old wounds can happen, or like I've done a lot of exploring on this myself, and I'm like, I feel like if you're talking about stagnant, or something that's not flowing, then I would say it was just old stuff, just old, from long time ago, when I was having an encounter with my teacher, and I was having an encounter with kids at school, and now I can't seem to get past it. What is that? That would be connected to the chakras, would it?
yes. And I would add to that, if I can,
Yes.
that old stuff,
Yeah.
because it's not brought to consciousness, because it's not specifically healed and then cleared, keeps in some way manifesting in our lives now. So these old wounds keep presenting themselves. It's not like, oh, my teacher shamed me in front of the class, and that's over and done with. This issue then of being called out publicly, and the shame is something that the universe, in its divine wisdom, God, in
Sure.
God's divine wisdom, is going to keep bringing forward to us until we clear that energy, that blockage.
Wow.
Yes. Wow.
Wow. I never understood it. Like I did not understand. And I, and as you and I've talked our last episode, we were just sort of diving in a little bit to who we are and where our origins of shame and pain have come from. And we were able to tap into that together and sort of talk about that. So if you haven't listened, if you're listening now and you haven't, you got to go back to the first episode that Ilene and I did. But now let's talk about, sort of the action of all of that. So way back, you were talking about your upbringing and how some of that really affected you in your life. And I was sharing mine and we were talking. And so then what you are saying is that becomes a narrative. It becomes a story. It becomes a belief. It becomes this package of thoughts that cycle and go, and they just don't stop. And so
Right.
when we are presented with the feeling of anxiety and that we feel it rise up, or the fear, for me it's the fear of being seen, that has to come from somewhere, because in my present life that's not my problem. And I've been so frustrated going, like, I gotta go forward here because my soul is calling me forward. And why do I keep living out of this memory and these triggers? Ilene, it's so disempowering.
Correct. It is so disempowering. And
And
so
then,
we have to go back to the root cause,
yes,
which is the root chakra at the
us
base of our
there,
head.
please.
The way it works. It's the way it works. And I want to say something here. And I think you know this from your exploration of self, and I certainly know this about mine,
Mhm.
that what's fascinating for me is that even with all the work that I've done and all the work that I continue to do now with clients on podcasts, etc., there will be root chakra issues that still pop up, and I say, hey, what's up with this? How come you're not healed there yet? And you know what? I've come to the belief that I think I'm going to be doing root chakra work, not in the same way that I did many years ago, but I'll be doing root chakra work until I'm no longer taking breaths. So at my last breath, I'll be saying, what's up with that root chakra?
Right. I think the same way as you. I do believe that, and that it can be discouraging, but it could also be encouraging because, you know, um, maybe you want to tell us why it would be encouraging.
Well, I think I said that because I want to normalize it. There are
Yeah.
people
Okay.
who are listening to us who are of varying ages.
Sure.
And if they're, in their 20s, they're saying, oh my God, I'm going to have to keep doing this until I die. Well, yeah. And if they're older, but I've done so much work on myself already. How come I'm still stuck in this area? And that's okay, because once we start the work, we get so more at ease
Mm.
with getting rid of the negative energy, the blockages, the stuff that's gotten in the way of our being our true, authentic, soul filled selves in our own lives. And so every time we get rid of some energy that doesn't serve us, we're not only serving ourselves, we're serving the world.
Ah,
We are.
we are.
We are.
And so then for someone out there who's disappointed, going, I'm not working on myself because it is this lifetime thing and it just never will go away. So I'm just going to coast. I'm just going to go. And when problems come up, I'm just going to move on. Um, the beauty of what you just said is we get to serve the world. We get to serve our communities, the people around us. We get to learn to love ourselves in a deeper way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it gets easier over time. It really does. It really does. It's not, it's challenging in the beginning when you have to look at all of your stuff and why there's an energy blockage, but it just gets so much easier.
But if we could just spend maybe 3 or 4 minutes on this one thing, um, I think from my view, it gets it's hard at first because it's a pattern. So for you and I, you didn't. When did you really start exploring what was going on in your life? I mean, for me, I was 17 and I started then, but really not having any major breakthroughs until I was about 34.
Yeah,
And I had all my kids and I'd sort of kind of done all that. And then I was just going down this track.
right.
And what I found very interesting is that, you know, I wasn't really available until I was available in my mind, and in my heart. And I think that what I noticed is um thoughts. Thoughts became feelings, and I started needing to become more vulnerable because I was having children and they were asking questions and I was learning how to parent. And I think, there's something to say about this life with where we are going, and you don't go there initially. You're not there at 10 years old. You might be there at 30 or 40 or 70, but you can get there if you want to get there.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I was in my late 20s, early 30s when I really started to say, I really have to look at these patterns in my life. And this was a number of years after my divorce from my first husband, which rocked my world. I think I mentioned this on our last episode,
Yeah.
but it led to a lot of mental health issues, along with some eating stuff and food stuff. And, that's past history. But the point being that when I started to explore what it was about my marinade that led to these patterns, and that all of that is housed in the root chakra, I was able to start little by little, and it felt so good and scary to pick away at one by one these things that kept me blocked, stuck. And so it became I decided I'm going to look at my life and all of this and all what's going on with me with curiosity. I am going to say, oh, not that I'm fearful of
Right.
me and who I am, but I am curious about what led me to these fears, these depressions, these anxieties. And so I'm going to be curious about it. And I started to explore both with healers and with mental health professionals. And I really loved the work.
Huh.
I was so inquisitive. So,
Well, it is not easy changing a pattern
no,
because
that,
and here's the really important thing for people to know is you don't know you have a pattern until you cannot move forward. And that was my own experiences. I'm hitting a brick wall, which eventually became the definition of insanity for me. It almost drove me nuts, going, what is wrong with me? But it was this uncomfortability stage that we get into just before there's a moment of awareness. And
I agree.
that's something that happens for me is it's like, okay, I identify the problem and then I realize, okay, there might be a pattern here when I become curious. This has meaning. There's something happening here. Then I can't hold it, Eileen. It's like I can't hold the energy or the retraining of my thoughts. I can't hold not slipping back into anxiety. I can't hold not slipping back into victimhood. And I just think that that's a very interesting observation that then moves us into the space which I naturally went into, which was, well, why is this actually happening to me? And then I found the chakras and I was like, oh my gosh. So if the body is another form of consciousness,
It is.
these two things are talking together. Our mind and our body and our soul, they're all talking together. And for some of us, we feel so separate from our bodies. And maybe that's because the root chakra is not as connected as we want it to be.
Yes, I
Okay.
would agree with you.
So
I would agree.
that explains some of that.
Yes.
Then how do thoughts play a role within the chakra system?
Well, let me first say that the root chakra is uh, it has an age range
Oh,
from birth.
yeah.
Some people say even before in utero to 7 years old. So this is our early life, and the root chakra governs family, home, health, finances. In family, did we feel like we belonged? Was there a sense of connection? Finances, not like were we wealthy or not, but did we have enough of the just the security things that people need, food, shelter, clothing, those kinds of things? Did we have a sense of belonging, or did we feel, when we really start to look like you did at what's driving my thoughts, my feelings, my behaviors, did I feel like a misfit? And see, here's the thing, when there's something not right in the root chakra, it's going to affect all of the other chakras, all of them, particularly those in the lower body, the root, the sacral, and the solar plexus. Okay. So that's why doing root chakra work is so critical, because as what we can dissipate as energy blockages in the root is going to open up the sacral, open up the solar plexus, open up the heart. And I won't even get
No,
to
no.
these other ones yet.
So if you were born, you and I talked about this last episode, born into chaos. So then your whole energetic body is in chaos. It's if it's born into it, it doesn't know, it just fires on those survival pistons or those lack pistons or abandonment. Maybe there's a parent that, or a guardian that is in and out and they're not present, and you just are picking up. Infants and babies do not know how to speak, but they sure feel,
Oh my, they're
because in in
sponges.
in the womb they're not speaking, but they're sensing and they're hearing. So sense and hear is really amazing when babies come out,
Absolutely.
right? They can sense. And having four children, I'm so aware of that particular time. It's so important, and many of us were not born into that sort of safe place.
Right, right.
So
And we didn't pop out of the womb feeling bad about ourselves. We didn't pop out of the womb saying, I'm not worthy or I'm not enough.
right.
So, and I'm not saying in any way that these messages that we received from our parents or our caretakers were intentional, but we got messages that because of the chaos, maybe we couldn't be attended to in ways that we needed. Maybe emotionally, we weren't getting what we needed at those very critical ages.
Yeah.
And so we got messages, I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy of your attention and your love. I'm not lovable. And that's the stuff of the root chakra.
Yes.
Yes.
So lead us there, my friend.
Lead us to the root. Okay, so um, I guess the thing that I want to say is um, about that. The chakra for many traditions
Yeah.
is pictured as a four-petaled lotus flower.
Okay.
So I can't four, but I can only put my hand out like this. So I'm going to four-petaled lotus flower. And if one of those petals, if we didn't get what we needed in one of those petals,
Yeah.
home, family, belong, some of those are combined, finances,
Yeah.
uh, uh, sorry, Lord,
Home.
fi finances, home, health,
Yeah.
and belonging. If we did not get what we needed,
Yeah.
the, the petals and then the whole flower start to shrivel.
Huh.
They shrivel up, and this is where we get those blockages, because if the root is a vibrating ruby red, open lotus four petals flower,
Yeah.
okay, then we are able to receive messages, send out messages,
Yeah.
but not if it's closed.
And so the closing of that is what you sense and feel in your environment. It's not, it doesn't have to be because you did something.
Oh, it's not about what you did. How could you, when you were 2 years old,
Right.
be a bad enough child that you're not going to get attention and love from a parent?
Right.
Doesn't work that way.
No.
Just doesn't work that way.
Okay.
And so this brings up, a look at this. And that's why some people, to be very honest with you, shy away from this. It brings up not necessarily at this point a look at ourselves. It brings up a look at, oh my God, I have to look at my parents. I have to look at my caretakers. I have to look at the way my family organized itself.
Right.
Was it about love, or was it about alcohol? What was it about that caused all of the chaos there?
So then does fear reside here?
Yes, fear resides elsewhere in the chakra system, but definitely starts in the root.
And um and that would be, so you're talking about being bonded and attached or accepted
Yes,
into the family of origin.
yes. And so when we're that little, we don't know that we're making compromises of self.
No.
But it's so we're not, we're little ones. We're either little babies or we're 7 years old. We can't take care of ourselves. We don't have the wherewithal to do that.
No.
And so we do have to modify, adjust, accommodate the needs of the caretakers, the parents, in order to at least minimally be taken care of.
Wow.
Yeah. And we shrink. And so those petals not only represent the crinkling, the closing of the petals, it's the closing of self also
Whoa.
that it represents.
So when you close yourself, then you are essentially shutting down to outside connection. You would be shutting down to what?
Well, you could be shutting down to outside connection, and that does manifest in that way for many people. Also, for many people, though, it's an opening up. I'm looking now, I'm older, I'm searching for someone's to take care of me because I wasn't taken care of. And I have that need, that desire that started in the root chakra at those ages to be taken care of. And so I'm looking to this teacher or this whomever, and ultimately to a boyfriend or girlfriend, somebody in our lives who we're going to glom onto. So it can close us to Relationships, it can, in an unhealthy way, open us to inappropriate relationships.
Right. So unhealthy or healthy love even.
Yes, yes,
What other
yes.
what other emotion would you find in this do all the emotions exist in this in the root chakra?
Actually, more emotions exist in the second and the third chakra
Okay.
that than live in the root. But our origins of fear and shame and uh, we could also say origins of depression, anxiety,
Mm.
because this little one isn't being taken care of in the way that it needs to be taken care of. Yes, those have origins in the root.
Well, I'm just looking, excuse me, at my notes because I have 9 things that I found in my like that I've discovered, and you just mentioned it, that not all these emotions are kind of based in the root, but seeing how we're talking about what you just said there previously, I want to say there's a fear of vulnerability that happens for people, and my reflection, my self reflection on that was, so then you'd be afraid of emotion because there's so much conditioning at this young level between birth and 7, where emotions aren't okay, or you might be feeling something and then that's not okay, or you're told just get over it, and or be secret, be quiet. You have to be the peacekeeper. Maybe the baby is the peacekeeper between the dad and the mom, where there's disagreement between the parents, and then the child goes, why don't you stop fighting, right? Like then so what that would unhealthily express itself as would be the fear of vulnerability when they're older, because those emotions and things were turned off, or that connection to self, as you talked about, was more shut down. Is Yeah.
I would agree with you. I would agree with you. And I think your point about the messages that we receive, emotions aren't allowed or anger isn't allowed, but happiness certainly is.
Right.
Children are to be seen and not heard, those kinds of things. That we absorb because remember, we're like sponges, those little beings. You watch a baby, they're watching, 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 they're watching all the time, and they're like sponges. And so, yes,
Hmm.
yes,
Interesting. Okay, so and then do we have any, can we talk about, like, if you have cycling narrative, what thoughts would exist or come from that place? I'm not safe in my environment. It's not okay to be, to feel. When I feel, it's not going to be, my needs aren't going to be met anyway. So there's no point in feeling. Anything else?
I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable, I'm not deserving of love, attention. Um,
And all of that drives you as a, and this is why shame out loud is so important, because we don't know it at that age.
of course
The
not.
whole
You're
point of
absolutely
coming on and talking about this is shame has an origin. It the connection to something, that who we are in this world, that we don't hold the space to be here, can come in, I can't feel safe. I don't belong here. I don't feel nurturing for my family. I don't belong here. I mean, it doesn't just come from not feeling grounded or confident. It comes in a whole array of
oh,
ways.
absolutely, absolutely. And it's subtle and
Yeah.
it's layered. I mean, and clearly there are some people who had very clear traumas that were big.
Yeah.
Okay, but for a lot of us, who have experienced micro traumas,
Yes.
it's subtle, it's layered, and it has this effect that why was I even born? Why can't I be loved?
Right. And in its effect, I noticed it started, I was began to question at 17, something isn't right. And I knew
Exactly.
it. And you can just tell. There was something not right. And I knew I wasn't going to find it in a whole bunch of places that were familiar to me. And I knew I needed to go and get in front of a therapist and say, help me here. But it wasn't until 34, like 40, somewhere around there. And really, it wasn't until the last 3 years where I just said, I got to deal with this shame because it is the changing the pattern and the cycle of shame was so overwhelming to me. It just was sucking the life out of me. And I knew this is going to be really uncomfortable, almost as if I was going to go off of coffee or something, where you have the kickback and the whole thing. But I knew I needed to do it. And it was baby steps. So let's,
Can I say something here?
yeah. Oh, please, please.
For many of us
Mm,
who grew up in these chaotic environments, who had this unsettled and unsettling root chakra experience,
yeah.
we will do anything, anything not to experience shame, anything not to experience shame. So vulnerability is out of the question. And of course, now with all of the research on the positive definitions
Yes.
of vulnerability, Brene Brown and others, yeah, we want to embrace our vulnerability. In my vulnerability lies my strength. Well, back then, back there, I would do anything not to experience shame, including lie, cheat, whatever, because it was just too overwhelming to think of the repercussions. The repercussions, yes, but initially the inner feelings of shame that rise up in the body. I don't know if you've ever gotten that flush
Oh,
up your body from shame.
oh,
Oh my God.
I
Oh my,
on a
yeah.
there's almost a daily basis, at certain times. And yes, that flush of shame, that wash of shame,
Yes.
that just is followed by this feeling in my body that just was almost paralysis and frozen. And then the narrative started. Who do you think you are? You are so crazy to think you could be anything in this world.
And I want to say something here to you, to me, and to others who know exactly what you're talking about here. That was not, it never was our voice. That was not your voice. It was not my voice. It was somebody else's voice. And we need to say that never belonged to me, and I choose to let it go.
I'm going to just take that in. Thank you.
Thank you.
Deep breath. I don't want to burst into hysterical sobbing right now, but there's nothing like hearing that. And I just want to thank you for honoring that in all of us today.
Thank you.
That it can only come from someone who's experienced it. Like this is the power. This is what we're talking about. As we are older and wiser and have more experience, we can now look back at our lives and you can say the thing that you could not say when you were 25. This was not my voice. At 25, it was, this is who I am. This is my world. Oh, Ilene, you've hit something here that I now have to echo as well. It isn't our voice.
Right.
You aren't worthy to hold space here is not your voice. You can't feel. We don't feel is not your voice. You can't
No.
You have to toughen up. That's not your voice.
No.
You can't be who you want to be, not your voice. And there's so many more, but the last one, your body is a secret, or you need to be a secret.
Yes.
It's not your voice.
Yes. Yes. Their voice, whoever the they is, parents, caretakers, a relative, a
Whatever.
teacher, a religious leader, whomever, during that people who are, period, who are sending that message that now we have to dispel. We have to say, and this, I am going up. This is where I am opening my throat chakra and speaking my truth.
The truth that is in me,
Yes.
has been in me,
Yes.
that has been, that has died because my sense of self was not fostered.
Correct.
And I wouldn't even say that your sense of self was taken, because you didn't know you had one at 6 and 4 and 3. What you knew was something was not right. You knew it didn't feel right. You knew it didn't sound right. And the words that you were hearing, they didn't sound right. And then when you repeated some of those words, you were told, don't ever speak like that. Oh, and you just don't know. When really we can get curious when a child starts telling us stuff and go, well, what would make you think that?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
This is our opportunity, that I believe you said this to me in the last podcast. If not, it was in our private conversations. But we get to parent ourselves. And so as we stay in this root chakra for one more minute here, how do you reparent the root?
Well, okay, so we've got little ones in there at different ages. And you, one of the things that I have, and I know you have too, made a concerted effort, not effort, it's been with pleasure to be able to identify my little ones at different ages and to draw them to me. I meditate every morning with my little one at age 5, the little one.
So
Uh,
your little ones would be, let's just dive a little bit deeper for more explanation. That would be like a exiled or a fractured part of yourself from your childhood.
yes, it, yes, she's my wounded parts of when, and basically of any age, but we're talking about the root chakra
Yeah.
now. So my wounded selves, my little ones who got shame-based messages, anger-based messages, who didn't get what she needed. I embrace her every single day. Little one, I love you. I've just got chills as I'm saying that. And I meditate with her. I don't know whether I should. Do
Yes.
you want to see my little one?
So we want to see, we never want this to be, this whole podcast in any way, shape, or form is about the freedom of who we are. Thank you. You get to share. Oh,
I had a healer when I was in my late 20s, early 30s.
okay.
Can you see her? Can you see her little Mary Jane shoes?
I can't.
I mean, these are real little children's shoes. I had a healer who said to me, Eileen, get yourself a doll. You need a doll. You need to reparent your little one, your young self.
Wow.
And so back then there was no internet when this was said to me. So I went from store to store to store, could not find me. They were all plastic dolls, baby dolls. And so one day I'm on a little excursion to buy a shower gift for someone. I walk into a gift store and there are all of these cloth dolls.
Yeah.
Okay, she's been a little
She's
beaten up over the
yeah.
years, but she has hand sewn dresses. She has little pantaloons on. And um, this is what I looked like at around age 5. I had very, very long hair. I used to wear this collar. You can't see it.
Yeah.
It's lace collar, but it looked like a Peter Pan collar
Yeah.
that my mother used to buy clothes like that with a
Yeah.
little like brooch at the
Yeah.
neckline. And the point being, if you look at her mouth, it's stitched shut. And I looked at the braids, I looked at the mouth, I looked at, she doesn't look particularly happy, although I see her as happier now than I did when I first bought her. But she looked to me shut down. She couldn't speak.
Oh,
She had this very full face. I did when I was a kid. And I said, I have to have her. This is me. She wasn't cheap. You have to have this little one. And we've been together for, oh my God, 33 years. Been together for 33 years. Yeah.
and so
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 I work with her.
you use her as a connection to who you were at that young age, that you would be able to say, this isn't me, but she's a a part of me, or she is associated with me, and therefore I'm going to be the person for her that I didn't have in my life.
I'm going to be the mother to her that I didn't have to me, basically, basically.
It's
And I
beautiful.
mean, I definitely, she is this physical manifestation of me at age 5. Um, but also, I don't always have to use
No.
this physical
Yeah.
manifestation. I can know when my little, a little part of me has gotten wounded.
Yeah.
I know. So
That
anyway,
is beautiful.
this is little Eileen.
And this is what you're talking about. You're talking about allowing ourselves to to explore in that way. It's not silly. It's not weird. It's
I don't
no,
think so.
no, I don't think so either. I think what it is, if there's a reactive piece, it's wow, I got to go find me a doll or a blanket or whatever. But there's something
Or a
that
teddy bear sometimes can represent,
that
you know,
can really bring. Do you do that with your clients too? Do you have them
I can't tell you how many times I've said to something, just like was said to me, get yourself a doll,
get yourself a
please.
doll? Yeah.
Yeah, for people particularly who struggle with, I can't feel my inner child. I
Yes.
can't, I can't feel her, or I'm afraid of her because there's an intuitive sense that, boy, is she angry, and somebody shut her mouth. And
Yeah.
so, uh, for those clients in particular, this can really help with expression.
And let's say you're 13, 14, 15, 16, you can still get a doll that represents you as a 15-year-old or a 12-year-old or a
Absolutely.
40-year-old, because what you're doing is you're using that as a space of um to really to speak to it, to let it go, to be able to say, oh my god, little Lori, I did not um I was so angry. I was so angry that I was harmed and that my boundaries were crossed, and then there was secrecy. I'm so angry. I can't handle it. Well, you go to that little person, and what you would say is, as an older, wiser person, hey, it's me. You introduce yourself and you say, hey, I'm you, but I'm like older. Do you want to talk? We can talk.
Yeah. And I want to give you what you didn't get then. And that is reparenting, remothering ourselves.
Reframing.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Yeah. Repeopling.
Yeah.
It could be if you've been bullied, it could be, you know, I don't have this, but I'm going to tell. I've never ever told this story before. So, when I was, I would think I was in grade six. Yeah, I think it was grade six. And I was really, really struggling. And my parents worked, and I was severely bullied at school and the teachers and all that. And was really, really difficult. And I would come home, and before my brother got home, I would line up my um my toys, like my animals, my especially my teddy bears. I'd line them all up, and I'd go. At that time, we were heavily involved in church, and I would go to this chair that my parents had. It was a gold chair with black embossed fabric, and I'd go to this chair, and I'd have a little step stool. I have a cup of water, and I'd open my dad's Bible, and I would put it on the back of the chair, and I would look at my toys, and I'd preach to them, and I would say to them, listen, I don't know where what scripture it is, but I would say gossip is like a choice morsel. It goes down into a person's inmost parts and it hurts them. And I would admonish them to treat people better. And what I realize now that I was doing
I know.
is I was coming to myself at the end of a day, and I was being for myself what I didn't have in that day.
There you go. There you
I was also being the voice of God, and I tapped into something that was so much bigger than me, that soothed the ache and that shame wash that you spoke of earlier. When I would speak to those animals, those toys, my world changed. I was in the presence of something that I didn't even understand. And it soothed me, and it prepared me for when my dad would come home. It would prepare me for that, and it would help me recalibrate almost.
go. Yep.
Um, that's very, very powerful.
That's such a beautiful story. I'm so glad you shared it. It speaks to how in each of us, I truly believe this, regardless of how old we are, there is this place that knows that we want more, we deserve more, and we can ultimately get. And of course, I'm not talking about the acquisitions of the world. I'm talking about inner serenity, peace, love, the inner abundance that we were just so lacking in. And that's just such a wonderful story. Thank you.
Well, I was I was not I was not ready to share that, but that was kind of it was so appropriate for what you were saying. And I think I realized that you don't need to be in a space where you are physically hugging a toy.
No,
You can you can go for a walk, and you can speak life into your soul.
yes,
You can go in your car, you can go on your bike, you can speak life to your own soul. And it is
yes,
now the time. You're never too old. It is never too late to begin to move through the uncomfortable pattern of shame and
yes,
unworthiness and not belonging and all of the other things. It is never too late.
never, never. truly. I mean, I remember, of course, it's funny now for me to say this, but because she's was the age that I am now. And that was so many decades ago. But I had a client who came to me at 75. For the first time in her life, she was entering therapy. For the first time in her life, she wanted to heal some wounds. She wanted to family and for herself, for her adult children now. And it was such a beautiful experience to have someone come at that age for the first time, because she didn't want to leave this planet with all of this stuff that was clogging her energetic system. She wanted to heal. She wanted to feel free. She wanted to feel love.
And that starts with us. Because as you said earlier, it isn't our voice.
No.
We do not come out telling ourselves that we need to be, to calm down or to not cry, or like we have needs. We, as babies, we have, whatever.
Right, exactly.
We get
You're
to,
too pretty, you're too much, you're
you're too
too
much.
emotional, you're too fat, you're too, no wonder they're not liking you. You're just not okay
Or you're too
the
loud.
way you are.
You're too loud, or,
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, and all these messages, you're not okay with who you are, and that it consolidates. And Ilene, they need to go somewhere. Those words go somewhere. They don't just evaporate, because
no,
if they did, none of us would be walking around with the pain that we have.
correct.
So,
They become part of our cellular makeup, is what ends up happening.
yeah,
We absorb them into our bodies.
yes.
Yes.
And
And
then,
they follow us. They're like lined up behind us.
okay,
They follow us through life.
yeah. And so then washing or letting go out of that root chakra, the feeling of um to be vulnerable, or the fear of your own thoughts. Because the thing about your thoughts is, you say, I don't want to feel, because the thoughts that you're thinking are so disastrous and so terrible and hard, and we're so hard on ourselves.
I agree.
We think, and then we go, well, I think this about me, so I can't feel, because if I feel, then I've got to be vulnerable. And so then it's this cycle that keeps us in this arm's distance, or closed off from really accessing this incredible flow and life-giving freedom that we can have
Correct.
if we are feeling open. So
Yeah.
what is open in your root chakra then? If
It's contracted. It's not open. It's
no,
contracted.
but what is open then? Like, how would you describe to our viewers what open is?
Open is I feel.
Okay.
Open is I love. Open is and I'm talking about not then, but now. I am creating a life that I feel comfortable in, a life where the people in my life love me. I feel like I belong. I have community. I have loving relationships. All of the stuff that we didn't get, including the stuff around. I pay attention to my health. I
Yes.
don't ignore my body, my health. I pay attention to my finances. I'm not letting money go through my fingers. I'm not living on the edge of poverty all the time. Oh, so all of the things that were awry, so to speak, in the root chakra
Yeah.
we open to now as adults. We say, I am going to live my best life now in this way, this way, this way, this way, this way, this way, always. Does that make sense?
Oh, that really makes sense. So then that's the open, and the closed is what I said previously, which is the fear of vulnerability, the thoughts, and the cycling and the narrative. Do you want to respond to that at all?
Well, I just want to say that if that maintains itself, and it does often for many of us,
Yeah.
myself included, over the years, that we're going to struggle with relationships. We're going to struggle with health, finances. We're going to struggle. I'm rising us up a little bit, at least to tap into the sacral chakra. We're going to struggle with feelings. The sacral chakra is the home of emotions. It is the home of sensuality and sexuality, creativity, intuition. All of the juicy good stuff of life is in the sacral chakra. And if our root is damaged, wounded, closed down, and we're not repairing it, guess what? Our sacral is wounded as well. And we're going to be this is some of your viewers will know this term, corded. Will want to
Bonded.
cord to other people, to
Bonded.
bonded, but it's actually like like an umbilical cord.
Oh,
We want to cord to other people to get their energy because we don't have it. And so it's almost like we're sucking energy out of others because we don't have it, because our root is so closed, so shut down.
wow. Wow.
Wow. Yeah.
Wow.
And hence why some of us choose extraordinarily inappropriate relationships because we're told, oh, I love you. Oh, I'll give you this gift or this. And all of that starts to feel like love. And then ultimately it doesn't. But we've got this energetic cord to somebody who's inappropriate.
So that's why someone who gaslights.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Okay, so a
Yes.
narcissistic. Oh yeah.
Oh, it certainly can be. And I mean, there are other manifestations of that unhealthy courting,
Yeah.
but certainly narcissism and gaslighting is a part of that.
Well, yes, because if that's the place, the seat of emotion,
Mhm,
then this is.
mhm.
Do you want to go into these next two? It's an hour and 15 minutes already.
Probably not. And I'm going to say what, because the sacral is so juicy and it's juicy. Oh God, it's juicy. The root chakra is ruby red.
Okay.
The sacral is like a beautiful navel orange. It's orange. It's a really beautiful shade of orange. And that's the home of the goddess of creativity, the goddess of emotions. The sacral goddess is on her throne in the sacral chakra. And she is the queen of all of those things: intuition, creativity, sexuality, sensuality, all of this healthy stuff, and all of our emotions, um, and the birth process as well.
Yes.
Yes, yes. And she's in partnership in a healthy way with the solar plexus,
Which is above, like,
which is between the diaphragm and the navel.
okay. Yeah.
The diaphragm and the navel.
Okay.
And the solar plexus, then, there's a lot about the solar plexus, but this is, if we have desires or these creative ideas in the sacral,
Yes.
it is the solar plexus in partnership with the sacral that's going to manifest them out into the world. Ah,
Well, I think we found shows 3 and 4.
there you go.
I got to say what we said at the beginning. I said, Eileen, so are we going to do just the root chakra? Are we going to go for all 3? And Eileen said, no, we'll go for all 3. We'll get all 3 done today.
Well, that wasn't accurate, was it?
Was a full bodied conversation. Like this to me, I was on the verge of just weeping a few times. um, I don't know. It does something to realize that we are not separate. And I think I grew up feeling separate. I felt separate. I felt separate because I didn't belong, but I also felt separate because of what I was feeling inside. I was separated from myself and I didn't even know. And so
You were too young to know.
I was too young. And this is like just, this is beautiful to me.
I agree.
It's
I
just
agree.
beautiful. And
We are rebirthing ourselves when we do this work.
mm,
Really are. Reparenting, but even take it back a step further. Rebirthing in a way so that we can picture that little baby going down the birth canal and coming out into our arms and being so loved
yeah,
and so cared for and so appreciated and taken care of because we, us,
yeah.
we know who that child is. And if there's something we are confused about, we ask, we try different things in order to get that little baby's needs met.
Wow.
Yeah.
I would say, and to add to that, we are also rebirthing our thoughts
Yes.
because it's the thoughts that get us into these spaces. In my view, it's the the we think it so much that we don't even know we're thinking it anymore. We think it so much that we're numb. We're so immune to this crappy way of thinking, this terrible way of believing. We would never, you know, we would never treat our something that we love that way.
Oh, absolutely.
Whether it's an animal or a friend or whatever, you wouldn't treat something that you value and that you love that way. You speak highly of it. You call it out. You call it higher. You want its best. And
I
yet,
agree.
how we speak to ourselves. I
So,
mean,
Wally,
I would never, ever speak to somebody the way I speak to myself.
oh, I hear you. I hear
I don't even think I could live with myself if I was talking to someone the way I talk to myself. And that's what drove me to begin this conversation, because I was like, wow, I'm not treating myself the way I would a friend. And that has to come from somewhere. And the confusion doesn't come from um me. Like, how did the thought happen? And I think if we could maybe encourage our listeners now.
Sure. I carried around if I told you this, you can stop me. I carried around again, this was part of my exploration in my late 20s, early 30s, a notebook in my purse
Yeah.
and a pen. And every time I had a negative thought about myself, like, Eileen, you're so stupid, I would write it down. And I came up with some themes. You're fat and you're stupid.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I made a point that was the starting place, those two things of my exploration. But I had to say to myself every single time, stop it, Eileen, that's not helpful. And then I would change the thought to something that was minimally more neutral. So stop it, Ilene. That's not helpful. Ilene, I'm so sorry that I just called you stupid. You are so not stupid. That might not have been the brightest thing you did ever in your life, but you are so intelligent. And so I would have to do that repair work all the time. I found that very helpful. Writing it down, as you were suggesting, at least in part, helps us identify the themes, because there are certain themes that will come up when we start to really look at the thoughts.
You know,
And remember that those thoughts were never ours in the first place.
those thoughts were never our thoughts in the first place.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
When
They were from those people who were supposed to parent us,
yeah,
caretake us, and it was about their fears and their upbringing, not about us.
and their thoughts were not their thoughts in the first place, or their,
Correct.
right? It's just, you can just keep going back.
They didn't know how to break the cycle.
Oh.
And if we are able to look at ourselves, we are cycle breakers. We are, it stops here.
Oh yes.
This self-abuse and this abuse of children stops here.
I could scream a resounding yes to that. One more thing that it just came to me, and I thought I'm feeling that I need to mention it so that we can just unpack this, because this might go hand in hand. But when this is from me, and you can tell me if you felt it yourself, but in the root, while we're here in the root, one thing that I have had a very, very difficult time with is not giving my power away. Or sorry, I give my power away. And I do that by saying, "Oh, I really want this today." And then someone says, "I don't." And I go, "Okay, no problem." Or whatever, right? It's just a small way. But what happens to me is this. As a kid, if we're talking about the root, if we're talking about from 0 to 7, then your voice didn't matter, therefore it just didn't matter. And there's nothing else to say.
That's right.
It was someone else's way or the highway.
Exactly.
End of story.
Absolutely.
So then that deeply entrenched, and you learn to take on other people's pain. You betray yourself for someone else.
Exactly.
And we never really knew we were doing it.
Exactly.
And that was probably one of the most life-changing moments for me, when I realized that I have, and this was only a couple of years ago, I betrayed myself every day of my life by moving myself back and letting other people be forward.
Now I want to say something lovingly to you,
Oh,
and to so many of
say it.
the listeners.
Say it.
You were trained to do that. It wasn't a conscious act of betraying yourself. Yes, that was the ultimately, that's what happened.
Yes.
But you weren't in betrayal mode.
No.
You were saying, I am just finding a way to survive in my marinade, in my root. And so this became something habitual. It became part of your, in a way, DNA. And part of our healing the root is releasing that DNA and making room for, I speak my truth. I stand in my power. I fulfill my needs. And I could go on and on. You didn't betray yourself. You
No.
were, one could say, you were betrayed by constantly receiving those messages, taking it in, and not standing in your power because you couldn't then.
And so then the word betray is would trigger people because, like you just said, you're not actively doing that. You're not actively trying to harm, but it was modeled, therefore you just do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, what are we going to do now with all of this? How can you just give us some affirmations if people are have been letting go or they're going to explore here? um I'd love it if you would just maybe help us if we let something go from the root chakra, like the shame and the unworthiness, and we tap into fears of vulnerability and those kinds of things. what what I've learned is that we sink deeper into who we are, who we were meant to be, and you have a little more, you stand a little taller.
Hmm.
When that happens, it means that you're actually deep inside of your body.
Absolutely.
Your soul is integrating in some ways.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
and so then if that is the case, then when we move something out, we want to put something in.
Okay. And I'm glad you said that, because energetically speaking, it's important to, if we're creating space in a power center, and we're in the root now, if we're creating space in the root chakra by releasing that old stuff that no longer serves us and should no longer be in our lives, we have to fill that space with something else. Now, if we don't do that, it is highly possible all of the old stuff is going to come back into that empty space.
Okay.
However, if we fill it firstly with light, fill
Mm,
it with light, fill it with light, and then we can picture, um, this is my visualization.
sure.
On each of the petals of the root chakra,
Yeah. Little.
we can write an affirmation, and we can put that, visualize it going at the base of our tailbone. That flower has on each petal,
Oh,
on each ruby red petal, an affirmation. I am loved and lovable. I am worthy. I have enough. I am in good, I am in vibrant health, those kinds of things. And we visualize the four petal flower and that little one sitting right in the middle, and we visualize it at our tailbone.
oh my goodness.
And she's smiling, or he's smiling, or they're smiling right there in the middle. So light, affirmations on each petal. Our little ones are right there in the middle, and we put that lovely lotus at our tailbone.
I love that. That little one in the middle in our
The little one
affirmation
in the middle.
right there.
Yep.
What if someone cannot envision the light, or if they cannot envision the lotus and the affirmations and the one in the middle? Is there another way that they can, if they can't do that, what else could they do?
Well, okay, so then I would be, if I were one of those people, I would be saying, what can I do to fill the space? Because it's really important to fill the space. What can I do? Okay, I can hug my dog.
Mm,
I can give myself a nap and wrap myself in my favorite blanket.
mm,
Um, I can sip some hot chocolate
mm,
as I'm sitting in my favorite chair.
mm. Okay.
I'd be asking self, okay, if you can't do this yet, what can I do now?
I think this is just where we leave it.
I think it's perfect.
I think it's perfect. I think it's perfect. And I just feel so many emotions as we wrap up, and I just want to say thank you. Thank you. Thank you for
Thank you for this opportunity. I love sharing this. I love sharing with you, and I just love putting all of this really important energetic healing work out there into the world. I
oh,
do.
it's beautiful. It's just beautiful.
Good.
Well, we know now that we have to come back.
Yes, we
So
do.
we can expect two more shows because we got to talk about each, and we can also expect that we won't put two into one because that's not going to happen. But I love that you introduced us to the next level, and now we don't have to worry about that in the next podcast that we do. We're just going to dive into
Yep.
the sacral.
Yeah.
um, you are you are amazing, and I don't even know what else to say. I just, your wisdom and your vibrancy and your experience of your life has really led you to this place where you can unlock and truths and awareness for other people. um you're so valuable, and
Thank you for saying that, Lori.
I just
I love you for that. Thank you.
I don't know what else to say to you except thank you for being you. And you have changed my life.
Thank you. Mwah, to you.